Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Go Carolinas podcast. This is Mike Miller. Today on the show, we're going to talk with a gentleman from the Brevard Music Center in Brevard, North Carolina. I have Mr. Jason Posnock on the show with me today. Jason is one of the administrators. I believe you're the vice president up there?
And chief artistic officer, Mike.
Okay, vice president and chief artistic officer. That's a long title.
That's what we do. We give titles instead of, money. No, it's yes. Basically, I'm responsible for anything related to our students and the music.
Okay.
So, mission-based work.
As I always ask my guests, if you could maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you ended up where you are now.
Absolutely. Well, I am originally from New Jersey and a classically trained violinist. Studied since the age of 3, actually, and pursued music very seriously as a child and teenager. Chose to take the university route and stayed close to home in New Jersey, doing my undergrad at Princeton, and which coincidentally we're in the Sweet 16 this weekend.
Yeah,
go Tigers,
go Princeton, yeah.
And ruined everybody's brackets, I'm sure, including mine. But anyhow.
Well, I went to Furman, so we ruined a few brackets too this year.
I will say I picked Furman to win their first round game. So
okay,
you share that with our artistic director, but I'll get to that a little later in our conversation.
Okay.
So I was at Princeton for that time, and then had the opportunity to study in London at the Royal College of Music, continued studies in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon, and made Pittsburgh home for about 10 years. Played with the Pittsburgh Symphony, taught at Carnegie Mellon, had a really wonderful freelance career there. Had the opportunity to join the faculty of the Brevard Music Center back in 2006 with my wife, who is a flute player. So she was hired on the flute faculty and I was hired on the violin faculty. And as young faculty members, you just kind of fall in love with Brevard. And we were no different. And we were invited back for a second year. And at that time, they just announced the hiring of a new artistic director, Keith Lockhart. And coinciding with that, they were going to grow the staff. So they were looking to bring in somebody with a little bit of orchestral background and expertise onto the administration. And one thing led to another, and they created a position that seemed to be a really good fit for me. At the same time, the Asheville Symphony in Asheville, North Carolina, had an opening for concertmaster. And it was the first time that position was open in 25 years. As people tend to win those jobs and keep them for a long time. And we decided that if the audition worked out and the job panned out here, we would pack up the car and move south. And that's exactly what we did. So in 2008, my wife and I and 3-month-old baby at the time moved from Pittsburgh to Brevard and started the next phase of our lives and career. So we've been down here in Brevard for 15 years now. I have had numerous positions here in the organization, starting with the original one, which was as a assistant artistic administrator, really helping out the department, and now leading the department. So it's been a great ride here at Brevard. It's a wonderful organization with a really important, meaningful mission. And I'm lucky to come to work at a beautiful campus like this every day. And, our mission really is to impact the next generation of music participants, is the way we look at it. We bring students in from age 14 to 29, and they get instruction. They have performance opportunities. They really get to live a life in music each summer, and it's transformational. So it's really meaningful work for us here.
Okay, that's interesting. You came from Pittsburgh. I actually know a few folks in the music scene or whatever up in Pittsburgh. I'm friends with Jim Nova, who plays trombone in the Pittsburgh Symphony.
Absolutely.
And
I've known Jim for a long time.
okay, and so I don't know if you know Sebastian Vera. He's in the I believe the opera up there, and also plays in the River City Brass Band.
I certainly know the name.
And yeah, I got a chance to see the Pittsburgh Symphony a couple of years ago. I drove up and saw a concert right after COVID, and then did a little bike ride on the what do they call that trail? The shoot, they have that bike trail that goes all the way from Pittsburgh to DC, and I will think of the name of it eventually, but I didn't do the whole thing. I did sort of a two-day out and back from Pittsburgh down towards the Youghiogheny River and back.
Right.
So it was
That's
really
beautiful out there.
really nice area. Yeah, I enjoyed my visit to Pittsburgh. So I guess that's a little bit of a culture shock coming to Brevard from Pittsburgh then.
It was. And, having grown up in New Jersey and lived in London and Pittsburgh, it definitely was different for us. We had spent 2 summers here, so we were certainly familiar with the town. But, Brevard's different in the summer when we've got 20,000 people here, and in November when we have 8,000. So that took a little getting used to, but it's a beautiful, safe environment to raise our kids. They've had a great, childhood here. I think we've been fortunate, especially having gone through the pandemic, having the space to be outdoors and just kind of enjoy the nature around us. We've got lots of friends in big cities who were penned up in their 900-foot apartments. So we were pretty lucky.
Yeah, just for anybody listening that's not familiar with the Brevard area, it's butts right up against the many thousands of acres of Pisgah National Forest, and there's more hiking and biking and various things to do in Pisgah than you can shake a stick at. So if you like being outdoors, it's a great place to be. Jason, if you want to maybe tell us a little bit about the history of Brevard Music Center. I know it's on your website. Maybe you could tell us, how it came to be, and a little bit of how things got from there to here.
Absolutely. It's actually a fascinating story. So we were founded back in 1936. A gentleman named James Christian Fole, who was a professor at Davidson College, and in fact, the youngest professor at that time at Davidson, had an experience at a music festival in Michigan, and it inspired him to start one of his own. So he started the Davidson Band Camp for Boys back in 1936, and after a couple of years, it grew and moved to Queens College in Charlotte, spent a couple of years there. And then in 1944, which, if you can imagine, was right in the middle of World War II, he and a business partner happened upon an abandoned boys' camp here in Transylvania County. And they bought the property and they moved the camp and the festival out here. So in 1944, we had our first music camp out here in Brevard, and it quickly grew from camp to a festival where some of the best orchestral musicians from around the country would come here and spend a couple of weeks and put together a 2-week festival. So the first part of the summer was camp, the last 2 weeks was a festival. And then that grew to a summer-long festival that just kept on really expanding its wings decade after decade. After James Christian Fole, we were led by a man named Henry Janiak, who was who actually had Spartanburg ties. He was the head of the program down there at
Converse College.
Thank you. You'll be able to edit that to make it sound like I knew what. So Henry Janiak was the head of the program at Converse College, and conducted the Charlotte Symphony and other orchestras in the region. He was our artistic director for decades and helped establish our opera company and many of the modern curriculum that we still have in place today. And then that was followed by a Brevard alum, actually, a gentleman named David Efron, who was a nationally known conductor and educator. He had been at Curtis in Philadelphia, the Eastman School in Rochester, and at Indiana University. And he was a piano student at Brevard back in the 1950s. So he came on as artistic director, and actually he was responsible for hiring me and my wife onto the faculty. And after David, we have our current artistic director, Keith Lockhart, who is conductor of the Boston Pops, formerly music director of the Utah Symphony and the BBC Concert Orchestra. Keith is also a Brevard alum. He was a high school student back in the 1970s. He was a clarinetist and pianist here. And he really attributes his time at Brevard with setting him on his path to a career in classical music, which has worked out pretty well for him. So he loves Brevard. It's really one of the great pleasures of my job is getting to work with Keith every day and kind of bringing his vision to life for this place.
That's interesting. I have ties to two of those directors. I actually played in the Spartanburg Symphony years ago under Henry Janiak when I was in high school, and his daughter was in my high school orchestra with me and went on a European tour together. So I'm really familiar with Dr. Janiak. Super nice man.
Absolutely.
And
his family is still very close with us here.
And actually played in the Furman band with Keith Lockhart for 2 years. I think I told you in the email, he probably doesn't remember me from Adam's House Cat, but I was the short, fat kid in the trombone section on the other side of the band. So I think he was 2 years ahead of me at Furman.
Well, Keith is a proud Furman alum and is definitely part of his connection to this region, important part of his connection to the region.
And he's actually from the Brevard area, right?
So he's actually from Poughkeepsie, New York.
Oh, okay.
But he did his grandparents ended up moving to Brevard, and his parents were here. In fact, his mom still lives here in Brevard. So he's been spending his summers in Brevard for nearly all his life.
Okay. All right. The actual facility there is the current facility the same as when it was original, or is some more land been added on to that?
So currently we have our campus is 180 acres with about 150 buildings here on it. We have added pieces to it over time. It's a beautiful kind of mountain campus that everyone who lives and works here during the summer, it all happens here on campus. So our students live here, our faculty lives here, the staff who we bring in each summer lives here. And it really helps us to create a meaningful sense of community every summer. So in November, we've got 20 people on our full-time staff, and we come to work every day. But in July, we turn into a city of 700 people on campus. So it's pretty amazing. And we also have public areas where we can welcome thousands of people for concerts.
Tell us a little bit about the auditorium there. It's a really nice kind of indoor-outdoor facility.
Our main concert hall is an open-sided auditorium that's with about 1,800 seats under the roof and about 400 seats on the lawn, opened in 1965. And it is has undergone a couple of renovations. The latest was about 8 or 9 years ago, an acoustical renovation that has allowed us to really enhance the sound in the space. And it's a beautiful place to experience a concert. Mike, I think you said you've been here for a number of our closing concerts, and to have you can just imagine a July late evening, the sun is setting, orchestra's playing a Mahler symphony, and you hear the birds chirping and the crickets and all of the nature sounds along with the music. It's really a spectacular place to come experience music.
Yeah, it really is. And for those of us from the bottom part of the saluted grade, it's nice to go up there and cool off a little bit in the summertime.
We're usually a good 10 degrees cooler than you. So
yeah, for sure. So tell us about your students. I know you get students from all over the country. Approximately how many students do you have during the summer, and what's the process for auditioning, applying, or whatever?
Sure. Mike, one of the things that really makes Brevard special is that we are first and foremost an educational institution. So all of the concerts that we put on, that's the organic outgrowth of the work of our students and faculty. So our students, we bring in about 700 students come through all of our programs from early June through the end of August. They come from all over the country and around the world. The majority of them come here for our core orchestral studies program. We also have a great piano program, composition, opera, classical guitar, pretty much anything you can study in music school, you can do here at Brevard. We also have a jazz program that is really become a treasure for us here, as well as a banjo camp with Bela Fleck and a guitar camp with Brian Sutton. So we've also expanded the genres in which we teach our students. For the majority of the students who come here for the core classical program, they audition. They have to apply and audition. It's all online. They upload their audition, and our faculty listen, and they make recommendations for accepting the students. And then our director of admissions goes through all of that information and makes the offers and gives them scholarship. We offer over $1 million of scholarship support every year to our students. So that's a big part of what we do to help our students come here and have the transformative experience that Brevard is for them. And actually right now is the time that she's doing that. So my director of admissions is hard at work trying to get everybody enrolled and making sure that they all know what they need to know. It's a very competitive process for some folks specifically. You know, if you're a flutist, if you're a college division flutist, where we have 6 spots and there's 100 applications, it's pretty tough to get in. If you're a violinist, you might have the numbers might be better suited for you. We need about 40 violins, so your chances are a little better.
Okay, so you have specific numbers of each instrument based on the ensembles that you're going to be
based on the
together.
Ensembles and based on our capacity of beds, quite honestly. So we can't take more students than we can provide housing for.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was competitive, but I did not know it was that competitive. I mean, I didn't realize you'd have like 100 applicants for 6 spots. That is very competitive. So, and how does that break down? I'm just looking at your website. I know you have college and high school divisions. How does it break down as far as numbers between those two?
Sure. So we have about, for the orchestral and related programs right there in the heart of the summer, we'll have about 430 students in those programs. And out of that, it's about 60% college, 40% high school. Okay.
And you're like the main orchestra, like the season finale and some of your other big concerts. I guess the faculty plays on those as well as the students, or
that's right. So one of the really special features of Brevard is that our college orchestra is really a side-by-side experience for the students. So our flagship orchestra, which is the orchestra you've seen, includes our faculty in principal positions and our students sitting next to them and really getting to learn how to play orchestra from their teachers who they're sitting with. So that is a really important experience for them that they don't usually get in their normal school life when they're just sitting with other students. And that's just one of our orchestras. We also have a college-only orchestra that also plays every week, and that one doesn't have the faculty. That really gives the students the chance to step up into those principal lead roles. We also have a high school orchestra that plays about 4 concerts each summer, and those are some of the best high school students from around the country, and they come together and they kind of make an all-star orchestra, which is a lot of fun. We also have an opera orchestra because we put on 3 fully staged operas each summer. And then we have other ensembles that get put together as needed for special concerts.
Yeah, I remember when I was in like high school, some of my friends went to Brevard for the summer, and they had more of a band focus then.
And we still have that. We have what we call the Brevard Symphonic Winds. And that group is led by Craig Allen Williams, who is the director of bands at Rutgers University. And they do really incredible work. They play the July 4th concert. They play a couple of other concerts during the summer. And it really gives our wind, brass, and percussion students a chance to explore the symphonic wind repertoire. They play college level stuff, so they're terrific.
Yeah, just as a low brass player, often playing in an orchestra is an exercise in sitting and counting.
Counting, right?
So you might get a little more chance to have horn to the face in some of the band music. So
that's exactly right. Yeah, band has been really a historic part of our curriculum here for many decades.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about the facility. We've talked about the students. Let's talk a little bit about your season and some of the guest artists and just how you go about planning 6 or 7 weeks of concerts.
Sure. So I always like to say, Mike, that what looks to the public like a regular concert series that any orchestra might put on is really the curriculum for our students. So when I'm thinking about programming a season, I'm always balancing what the public will see and hear and what our students need to learn from us while they're here. Luckily, in the Venn diagram of orchestral repertoire, there's a lot of overlap between what the public likes to hear and what our students need to play. And then there's a little bit of sometimes we'll play something that might be new or something a little different than our audience is used to, and we hope that they trust us. And sometimes we ask our students to play music that might be a little more popular in nature. But the fact is that is also very, very much an important part of their learning, because for our students, they'll be lucky if the first time they get hired by a professional orchestra, probably going to be a pops concert. So they need to learn that language and that vernacular. So I'm proud that we have introduced that over time. This year, we will be featuring 2 major choral works, actually. Our season is bookended by Carmina Burana, which is, if you don't know the name of it, it has some of the most famous music that's very recognizable for anybody who's ever watched a television commercial. And we're finishing our season with Verdi's Requiem. Keith Lockhart will be conducting that. And that is just an incredibly dramatic, powerful work for orchestra, chorus, and for soloists. So really wonderful way to finish up the season. And in between, we've got some great guest artists. We have Jeremy Denk, one of the world's great pianists. We have some terrific violinists coming. I always love to bring a mix of young artists who can inspire our students. Sometimes they're the same age as some of our students, and also a little more experienced musicians who, maybe our students have looked up to for years, like Jeremy Denk or Roberto Diaz, who is a violist and the president of the Curtis Institute, and by the way, a proud Brevard alum. So he'll be spending a few days here and teaching and playing as well. So it's a real mix of orchestral works from Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony to Mahler One to An American in Paris to we're going to be doing Harry Potter live with orchestra and film, which will be really exciting. We have, in addition to Keith Lockhart, we have Joanne Falletta returning to Brevard. She's one of the country's great and busiest conductors. Always a treat for our students to work with her. Our resident conductor is Ken Lamb. He's been with us for over a decade. He spent time as music director of the Charleston Symphony and is now leading the program in Juilliard's Tianjin campus in China. So he'll be coming over, hopefully. And no, he'll be with us. And, outside of that, we also have a big concert with Bela Fleck on August 19th. We have a big guitar celebration to kick things off on June 3rd. Our opera company will be producing 3 operas, including La Traviata, which is the most popular opera in the world. We'll be doing Into the Woods, which is a wonderful Stephen Sondheim work. And we'll be doing Benjamin Britten's The Turn of the Screw, which is a fantastic opera that doesn't get performed all that much. So it's kind of a rare opportunity to see that.
Just looking at your website, I see you've got Audra McDonald coming.
So, Mike, we have a Legendary Artist series, which is new for us as of last year. And through the generous support of our donors, we're able to bring in some of the most famous and popular performing artists of our time. Last year, we had Joshua Bell. And this year, we are bringing in Audra McDonald and Patti LuPone in separate performances. Patti will be with us on June 24th, and Audra McDonald will be with us on July 25th and 26th for 2 performances, one in the intimate 400-seat Parker Concert Hall, brand new as of 2020, and one with our orchestra on the 26th of July.
Is that going to be more of like a Broadway kind of show, or?
Yes, that will be her really kind of exploring the songs that have been important to her throughout her career. The show on the 25th, Tuesday night, will be a more intimate show with piano, and I think it will feel a little bit like being in a jazz club. And then the show with orchestra the next day will be a much grander scale and give her a chance to really belt them out.
And she can do some belting.
She sure can.
Yeah, you mentioned that Parker auditorium. I have not yet been to a show in that. I know it's almost brand new. Can you tell us a little bit about that facility and how it came to be?
Absolutely. So Parker Concert Hall opened its doors in 2020. Of course, we had nothing to open it to back then. So it was really 2021. But that is our first year-round performing space here on the Brevard Music Center campus. It has really been a game changer for us. Doctors Tom and Joanne Parker, who are in Asheville, were really central in helping to make this building a reality and have been just incredible supporters of ours and helped to make this a reality. And it is the home of our piano program now. We have a beautiful concert Steinway D in that building, and our piano students have a beautiful place to play. It's the home of our chamber music series during the summer. Lots of other programs also perform there, so it's used every day, almost every hour of every day. But what it has also done is allowed us to have an October through May concert series here at Brevard, really turning us into a year-round performing organization. So we are right now in the midst of our second season doing shows, and it's been great. We've put together a multi-genre series, including classical music, bluegrass, Americana, some world music, even some dance. And it's just been fabulous to keep music going in our community during the what we used to call the off season.
Yeah, I noticed you've got a brass group coming end of April. I'd like to try to catch that show. Rodney Marsalis.
Yes, he is of the family. He is a cousin, and he has a group called the Philly Big Brass, and they'll be on tour, and they'll be stopping here in Brevard for one of their concerts.
Let's see, and we were talking just before we started recording about the ticket availability. If folks want to get tickets for these shows, what do they need to do?
Our single tickets to the general public go on sale April 17th. And there are two ways you can get tickets. Go to our website at brevardmusic.org and follow the links to the ticket buying portion of the website. Or you can call the box office at 828-862-2105. And our folks will be very happy to help you. Right now, we are in our pre-sale period and subscriber period. So if you're interested in buying a subscription, now's the time. We have some great packages with really terrific savings. So you're welcome to go online and see those packages or call our box office, and they'll be happy to help you. And otherwise, April 17, that's the day to get single tickets to all the performances.
Okay, and I know from experience, some of those either sell out or get pretty close to selling out fairly quickly. So
they sure do. So the earlier you get your seats, the better chance you will to that you'll have to sit where you want to sit. That's for sure.
I know the one I went to last summer, I kind of waited toward the end and ended up on the lawn, and it kind of rained on and off the whole show. I was like. So you're taking out the umbrella and putting it back up, and then going and standing underneath the edge of the awning there a little bit, but it was still a good show. We enjoyed it.
There's kind of a charm to that, but it's a little more comfortable under the roof.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then the next day I found out I had COVID.
Oh no.
It was pretty mild, so hopefully I didn't make anybody sick. Okay, so tell us what else would you like to let us know about Brevard today?
Well, Mike, in addition to all of the incredible classical music concerts we also have a series called BMC Presents, which is our non-classical concerts that are mostly touring groups and artists who come through, and we, rather than being self-produced concerts with our faculty and students, they are truly presented concerts with artists coming through. And this season, we have an incredible lineup. We start out with Branford Marsalis, who is going to be performing. And then we've got Patti LuPone, as we mentioned earlier. She's part of the BMC Presents series. We've got the great guitarist Tommy Emmanuel coming in the middle of July to perform for us. We have Bela Fleck, as we mentioned, on the 19th of August. That closes out the season. And we also have a really fun show called Revolution, the Music of the Beatles. And it's a symphonic show with 4 singers. They are not really a tribute band. They are playing just incredible arrangements of your favorite Beatles songs with an backup orchestra. So that's going to be a really fun show.
I mean, is that with your orchestra?
It is with our orchestra.
Okay.
Yeah. So our students will get the chance to be a backup band for some great Beatles tunes. Some
years ago, they used to have a short 2-day jazz festival. Do you know? I know they still have a little bit of a jazz program, but the jazz festival seemed to have kind of gone away. Do you know what happened with that?
So that went away even before I was involved here.
Okay.
And part of what I've been trying to do for the past decade is really bring jazz back to our community. And the way we're doing it is really through our Jazz Institute. We run a 2-week Jazz Institute in early June, and that includes a couple of performances, public performances. This year, it will feature Branford Marsalis with our jazz students. So that's been really wonderful to kind of bring jazz back to the Brevard Music Center.
Well, Jason, I'd certainly like to thank you for your time today, and I appreciate you letting us know about what's going on at Brevard. I know a lot of folks in the Carolinas already are familiar with it, but maybe somebody will learn something new from this podcast, and you get some new visitors this summer. So thank you so much, and I want to wish you good luck with everything this year.
Mike, it's been a pleasure talking this morning, and we really look forward to a great summer and hope that your listeners will come pay us a visit.